Mike, it's good to see you. Thank you for
Hi.
joining us today. Hi, Mike. I just want to introduce you to the audience. So, if you don't mind, I'll say a couple of sentences about you and your background, and then we'll kick off your presentation. So, Michael Mead worked at two leading universities in the northwest of England, at Lancaster and the University of Central Lancashire, working to keep universities reach out to businesses and to engage them with new technologies that could help them change the way they work. This started in IT and comms before moving to Industry 4.0, engineering and manufacturing. During that time, he was an ambassador for Create Education, helping pass on the 3D printing knowledge that he had to schools. Michael moved full time to Create 3 years ago and is now the leading expert for MELTIO, metal additive systems in the UK, and specializes in working with universities. Mike, thank you very much for today. I can see your shared screen. Thank you very much. Would you like to start, Mike?
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you.
I feel a little bit. You can all hear me, okay? Just hopefully. I feel a little bit like the cuckoo in the nest here, in that I'm not an academic. I don't stand in front of a room full of students. I've got zero papers published to my name, but I've got a lot of passion for what I do. There's sort of two sides to me. There's the slightly awkward stood in front of a camera talking side, and then there's the more comfortable head in a machine eating chocolate biscuits and actually trying to make the technology work side. So as the introduction said, I am the lead for MELTIO in the UK, and I was an ambassador for the Create Education program for 4 years before I joined them as an employee. It's a little bit like the DFAM network that I'm part of with you guys, really. It's all about pushing and promoting the sort of different skills and the different developments that we've got. Um, so, yeah, I do all the work for MELTIO. So I work with a lot of different manufacturers, developing new technologies and helping promote and push the skills that they've got. And I work with everybody right from primary school children up to university research teams and into some of the NHS trusts as well. I'm going to reach back a little bit further today than you guys. So a lot of you are focused on the university level of education. I'm going to push back a little bit further in the job that I do. And it's something that Alan said right at the beginning about the sort of systematic landscape that we've got here. And I'm very much about developing AM skills right from the roots so that by the time they come into the universities, that they have a basic knowledge of what additive manufacturing is and what the basic design principles are, so that we now have to look at how we shape the education environment at a primary school, a secondary school, and a further education level, so that this design thinking process, this multidisciplinary process, is almost inherent before we maybe encumber not isn't the right word, but before we put the traditional manufacturing processes into the heads of these young people, we should be putting additive in there as well, so that the design principles is not it's not a method of overcoming the traditional, but understanding the additive and making that selective decision right from the offset. So how are we going to shape that? Well, if we actually look at the market and what's happening in the market at the moment, we can see the massive growth in AM. So if you look in the verticals already, we've noted aerospace, electronics, medical, all rank AM as the number one technology for investment. Automotive and consumer products, it's at 2, and defence and manufacturing, it's at 3. There are already 23,000 commercial AM machines in use worldwide. I question that as to what they say is commercial, because I think there's probably an awful lot more. With 49.1 billion being the projected market growth for printer materials in 2025. So it's already showing massive impact. You reach out even further and look at the job opportunities. These are stats from 2018, so I reckon they're probably already out of date. But we're looking at 60,000 jobs been involved in and around AM. And I think that number is low. I think AM is going to impact so much more. So even if these young people don't reach the university level, I think they need to have an understanding of AM practices and design for AM and understand the role that it plays within a modern job role and the roles that haven't even been touched yet, the roles that we don't know that are out there. And that's one of the things that led me to leave my university job with the nice long holidays and the good pension, and step out into the business to education sector. So Create Education is who I work for. We are a limited business. We spun out from a couple of different manufacturers' education programs and looked at being a CIC so that we could be a community investment group. But that limited us to working within our local region. We wanted to work nationally. We've been established since 2015 and we focus solely on additive manufacturing education. So we work only with education institutes, as I say, right from primary schools up to universities. And you can see that we're built on 6 pillars: community, reliability, education, access, teachability, and economics. I won't drill into them all, we've not got the time to do that. But what it's about is about having a network of people, providing good equipment that is reliable, providing the resources that allow people to use those widely, giving access to as many people as we can, making the resources teachable so that the people that don't have a mass understanding of the technology can get up to speed quickly, and then teach it to the young people, and providing the economic structure that allows them to continue doing that. So this is my first big bit, is about community, and it's why I'm speaking to all of you people today. We have 100 Create Education ambassadors from all sorts of different roles and different walks of life, all with a common theme. They all have additive at heart, and they all know about it, and they all see its value. And it's the big thing for me is I see my job as being an enabler. I want people to be able to be joined together as part of a community. So I see on this call already people like Connor at Imperial, who I've worked with. I can see Alan Rennie at Lancaster, Hadley Brooks at UCLan. And my job is, I see it, to join all of these people in these communities together and understand who's doing what, how they are doing it, and how it can be propagated to go further. If I can join 2 people doing research at other ends of the country so that they can then further that and further the technology, I see my job as being, a good thing. So by bringing these people together and sharing our understanding, I think that the breakthroughs in the learning is amplified. And we do that through a lot of different ways. So I mentioned the A in Create being access to technology. So we've established this community of people. We've got all of these people together. Well, how do we push it? So let's start with the primary school and secondary school end of things. We have a loan scheme. It's not just for those levels of education. We do it right up to university level. But if you've got a technology in mind, often one of the biggest barriers is getting hold of it through the budget or through the bursar, or in sometimes just knowing what the technology is. Well, I work with a lot of manufacturers, and we either buy or we acquire units that are then sent out to these people doing the research. So you can have it for 90 days, you can have it for a month, and we can get you up to speed. We can get the technology in front of people so that they can start to understand it, they can start to see the principles and see where it's going to go. And that stands for proven technologies. So we don't put, the unreliable, low-cost, build-it-yourself machines in front of a school. We will take a machine, we'll give it to teachers, we will have their opinion and get it trialed and tested so that it's reliable. You don't want 30 kids throwing staples at you while you're trying to get your print level on the build plate. What we want is to have testing machines. That's the R, reliable. We then look at new technologies. So we have a sister company, 3D GBIRE, who work with a lot of different manufacturers. I say Photocentric in the UK, Ultimaker. We've worked with Creality, MELTIO, a whole range of them in 3D printing and scanning. And we want to bring new technology to the people in our community. So if I see somebody doing research in, robotic LMD, we can talk about MELTIO. If we talk about somebody doing, green light LED for DLP or micro DLP, we've got, companies that we can speak to. And as part of my bridging role, I want to try and connect those people with the manufacturers so that everybody can grow. Because I think university research has a huge amount of scope to be able to push the manufacturer and to be able to develop what they're doing rather than being a paper that sits on somebody's shelf. We can actually make it into something real. So then we start to look at the education and teachability. So this again probably steps a little bit down from some of the university stuff and focuses on further and secondary education. The role is to provide, we've got access to the technology, we've got a community of people there to support it. But how are we going to make that sticky? How are we going to make that teachable? Well, we have the resources. So our company has 50% of us that are former teachers. I'm not one of them. I've not stood in front of a school full of children day in, day out. But those teachers develop the resources around AM. So we make sure that they've got a good understanding of design for additive principles, and we teach the whole ecosystem. So it isn't just press print on a machine. We start with primary school kids doing Tinkercad. We move up through Fusion 360, of which I'm an instructor. We move into Cura and some of the other softwares for printing and processing. And then for things like universities, we look at other areas that we can help them develop. So I don't know if any of you have heard of Teton Simulation over in the US, but we're working with them at the moment to do a plugin for Cura that is FEA analysis at point of print. And it also gives consideration for the sort of Z grain, if you like, in the print. So that's FEA analysis for all. It's not, the massive setup that you would get through a SolidWorks or a Fusion. It's at point of print, done for optimizing the printing process. So we work through and we bring all of these resources to the fore, and they're free. Everything that we do for these people is free. So whilst we have a business to run, we do the loan scheme, we do free resources, we have the community, we have the base, and we push. And then we can use that base to develop things like university research. So we can support university research through, we've done letters of support for EPSRC bids. We've done letters from manufacturers. We've connected university research teams with OEMs so that they can push and develop and have channels through which the research and the principles that they are teaching have real world effects and real world gravitas. And we can showcase that. And that's what we go into is shared practice. As we go through with this community, we enable people through provision, and then we want to share and multiply that. As I said earlier about the community, the more we can share and multiply all of these things, the bigger the growth potential and the better we are placed to enable additive manufacturing as a group, as a country, as a nation, however you want to put it. We set the foundations and we develop this ecosystem right from the roots upwards, and we build the DFAM principles as part of education and allow universities to push the envelope. So my first bit is how can we help you guys? As I say, firstly, we are a business. We sell equipment. I make no sort of hiding of that. We sell the equipment to keep our doors open to allow us to do everything else. So if you want anything, feel free to come to me. But the bigger bit is collaboration. Ask me who's doing what and who I know. Tell me what you're doing. We work with Revolver. If anybody has things that they want publishing, So we can work with Oliver to get the research out to the wider communities. We have access to expertise. We have access to a very wide range of expertise. So all the UK technical repairs for 9 brands happens in our company. So we work with all of those, but then we go back into the manufacturers. So I'm linked, as I say, to MELTIO heavily. We're linked very much to the photocentric resin teams. So we can push, we can help you guys where you have barriers. We can help you overcome them. And that's done through the next bit down, which is our community. Promotion. I'm always happy to promote what you guys are doing. If you've got ideas that you want to take forward, please let me help you. And then industry. So through our sister company, 3D GBIRE, we've got links into Rolls-Royce, Autodesk, everybody from those guys sort of level of contacts right down to a man in his shed making bits and bobs. We want to join people together, and we want everybody to embrace all of these things. But the bigger bit for me is how can you help? And what I want is to see you guys reaching downwards into your education channels. The best thing about being able to be on this call is that I don't have to explain what 3D printing is, or I don't have to explain, what design principles are. You already know that. But how can you help me bring that to a bunch of 10-year-olds or, a bunch of 8-year-olds or 15-year-olds who might be a little bit disengaged? How can we use our skill set to help lift education off the page? Whether that's through production of teaching models, maybe it's sharing of a concept or an idea. How can we engage that set of children that may be a little bit disheartened with traditional methods of learning, and we can use our skill set to revive them? We can use university outreach programs. How can we get children to a point where by the time they reach a university level, we aren't teaching them about design principles, we're teaching them how to push that even further and how to develop that on. And I know it sounds like a little bit of a soapbox piece from me, and that's because it is. It's a very big passion of mine to enable people. Those are my contact details. And I'd just like to take any questions from you. I think it'd be much better to hear what you guys have got to say rather than go any further.
Thank you very much, Mike. It's a fantastic presentation. Again, very helpful to know that there are companies that you willing to support or provide support to universities, to institutions, or even to students directly. And that's very helpful to know that there's sort of like a loan scheme as well as other initiatives from the Create Education group, which is fantastic. I'm trying to have a look again at the chat box. If you got any questions, just feel free to use the chat box to get in touch, or you might want to contact Mike or our speakers. I think Mike's shared screen m.mead@createeducation.com, so feel free to contact Mike. I'll have a look again at the chat box to see if there's any questions. Okay, I don't see any questions, but once again, Mike, thank you so much for this afternoon. It's a pleasure to listen to your presentation, and I hope that you can make contacts with people from the education or who are willing to actually learn about 3D printing. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.